Hey, and welcome to the Mickey in Minutes podcast, the short Disney show.
Quick conversations, information, and inspiration.
I'm your host, Nick Lazaga.
And I'm Andy Gootz.
Let's go! Hey, what's going on, Andrew?
Nicholas, back at it again, man.
Oh yeah, dude, it feels like I haven't talked to you in like forever.
I know. We've been busy, but now that it's the summertime, I'm happy to be back in the swing of things.
Dude, so happy to be back, man. So speaking of summertime, this is our first episode of our 3-part summer series.
Yeah, man, pumped.
Oh yeah, I'm super excited about this. So we were thinking, what are things that we like to do during the summer? And movies. We love to binge watch movies during the summer. Who doesn't?
Obviously, right? That's a given. That's a given.
Oh yeah, and then gotta crank some tunes, right? So the next episode's going to be all about music.
And that's our bread and butter, as y'all should know by now.
And then games, maybe a specific game that we've talked about a lot.
We won't mention it, but it might rhyme with Borlana.
Oh, yeah. So lots of fun things coming up for our summer series. But today we're talking about movies, specifically summer movies. Andrew, do you have any go-to movies like summertime that you just want to binge?
Oh man, summertime for me is honestly, summertime for me is superheroes. I associate just the summertime with big box office blockbusters, right? Like all the Marvel movies, all the Avengers, really any of them. But really, I would say the final two, or I guess just the latest two, just straight Avengers movies. Infinity War and Endgame. I could watch those over and over and over again. What about you, man?
Dude, yeah, absolutely. So I was talking about that. I was trying to come up with like, all right, what's my summer movie? My train of thought was summertime.
Okay.
Summer camp. Camp Rock with the Jonas Brothers. I'm sure that's going to hit with somebody listening here. Somebody, please. But for real, though, what really came to my brain was like the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, especially the original Pirates.
Yeah.
Dude, that swashbuckling, right? That's so summertime. And also it makes me think of the parks, right? So yeah, I'm just thinking of being in Disney and that's my summer binge, man. That plus like Indiana Jones, But Andrew, what I think is probably the best summer movie of all time, a movie that's literally about summer vacation, a Goofy movie.
A Goofy movie, man. Oh, Nick, I've been waiting so long to talk about this movie. I honestly think next to the cartoon animal Robin Hood, this is my second favorite just 2D Disney movie.
Oh, yeah. We've actually been planning on doing this episode for a long time, but we're back. We're circling back around to it.
Perfect for summertime.
Today. Oh, yeah. Dude, the movie literally, it begins on the last day of school. So, I mean, there's nothing more summertime than just throwing your papers in the air and leaving school, man.
So I guess we want to just start talking about first, maybe give a little bit of background and what the plot is for those of you who haven't seen a Goofy movie, but really should go and watch it the minute you finish this podcast.
Yeah, the one person. So Goofy movie, man. So this is, based on the iconic character Goofy, who debuted in 1939. You know what his original name was, Andrew?
Oh, you told me once, but I forgot. No, I don't.
His original name was Dippy Dog.
That's right, Dippy Dog.
Dog.
But which kind of proves a controversial argument of what is Goofy, right? He started out as Dippy Dog. Goofy is a dog, man.
He is a dog, absolutely. He speaks unlike Pluto. The show was called Mickey's Review, and he was Dippy Dog. But then later that same year, they aged him down a little bit, changed his name to Goofy, and he appeared in a short called The Whoopie Party. And that's the official real start of Goofy, not Goofy.
And then Goofy went on to have a bunch of just like solo shorts of him being Goofy and, Goofy doing water sports, right?
How
Goofy
to
doing
play.
Gymnastics, how to play.
Yeah. So a Goofy movie is actually a movie based on the TV show Goof Troop.
Oh, that's right.
The TV show Goof Troop came out in 1992, and it lasted 2 seasons. So in this show, there's a younger Max and Goofy. And so in the show, Goofy, a single father, he decides to move back to his hometown of Spoonerville with his son. And he ends up moving next door to Goofy's high school friend, Pete. Yep. Classic character, Peg Leg Pete originally.
Was PJ in Goof Troop too?
Yeah. PJ was in Goof Troop. Yep. And so in the show, Pete was a used car salesman. He worked Honest Pete's used car lot. And his wife's name was Peggy, which is a nod to the fact that he used to be called Peg Leg Pete.
Of course.
But Peggy doesn't appear in Goofy movie.
No, she doesn't. And you don't really see Peggy as much in Disney or Goofy lore, even currently.
Yeah. In the show, PJ actually had a younger sister named Pistol.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, some things were a little different in a Goofy movie, even though a Goofy movie is actually literally a sequel to a Goof Troop. So in my headcanon, I don't know how true this is, but I feel like Pete and PJ are on their father-son trip, just like Max and Goof are, and that's why we don't see Peggy or Pistol. So
nor are they even referenced at all even in the movie.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't remember.
Interesting. So okay, so in the show, Max and PJ are like what, in middle school? Because in the movie, of course, they're in high school.
Yeah, they're a lot younger. Actually, so much younger that when they made a Goofy movie, they got a different voice actor for Max because the original voice actor sounded too young. Yeah, exactly. And they wanted to age it up a little bit. So a Goofy movie takes place 3 years after the events of Goof Troop.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, so that kind of sets the stage. If you haven't seen Goof Troop, that's also on Disney Plus. It's pretty fun. I remember watching that. Great theme song.
All right, so to basically just give like a general synopsis of the plot. Max is in high school. It's the very last day of school, and he really wants to make an impression on a girl that he likes by the name of Roxanne. So he chooses to basically put on a concert at his high school the very last day to, make a scene, make himself, quote unquote, stand out, which leads to a lot of trouble that he gets into. And the principal calls Goofy to basically tell on Max and say, how much trouble that he's in. And that leads Goofy to basically say, you know what? I really think I need to have a solid summer vacation with my son. It'll be great bonding for the two of us.
Male bonding.
Yeah, great male bonding. But the big kicker is Max was going to go to a party with Roxanne a week later after school, but he can no longer do that because now he's going to go on a vacation with his dad. So to keep in good spirits with Roxanne, Max lies to Roxanne and says that he is actually going to a famous pop star by the name of Powerline, his concert in Los Angeles, where him and Goofy are going to be able to dance on stage with Powerline, and he's going to wave to Roxanne on TV, which of course is just a brutal lie. So they go on a hilariously awesome
comedy ensued
adventure. And there's a really great ending, which you can pretty much infer what actually happens, but we'll let you watch the movie to find out for yourself.
Yeah, we can't spoil the whole thing for the one person who hasn't seen this movie.
You know who you are.
You know who you are. So yeah, that exactly sums it up. And it's a movie about, fathers and sons bonding, like you said. And it's also just a movie about like that teenage, like, I hate to use the cliche teenage angst. Yeah, right. But it really is like Max is just so like
embarrassed by his dad. He's embarrassed by Goofy. Yeah, he's a typical teenager, and when your dad is Goofy, who all he wants to do is be happy and be goofy, and really just. But
he doesn't want to be like his dad. Remember the movie opens with that scene where he grows his teeth really big, and he transforms into Goofy while he's trying to like flirt with Roxanne. Like, so
it's a nightmare. He literally his nightmare is becoming his dad.
Yeah, but he gets to know Goofy throughout this movie, and all right, watching it as a kid and then watching it as an adult, dude,
it hits
completely different movie.
Especially being a dad and watching that, knowing that like I have a 3-year-old daughter, and one day she's going to be an angsty teenager and doesn't want to hang out with me anymore. So knowing that that's inevitable, and maybe even learning a thing or two from Goofy on how he handles the situations, to your point, it hits differently when you're an adult, man.
So just take her on a fishing trip when she starts doing that.
Yes,
and all will be
fishing
solved.
Trips solve everything,
as we sort of learn in this movie ish. So, dude, so many great songs in this movie.
I think honestly, when we talk about a Goofy movie, the fact that there are so many original songs, and not only just original songs, but diverse original songs, is what separates this from really a lot of other Disney movies. I mean, if you think about all the other 2D animation, 3D animation, all of the songs are kind of within the same genre. I mean, let's think about just from the last 10 years, Frozen, Tangled, what have you, all great songs, but they all fit kind of a certain theme. With the Goofy movie, you get pop, there's Broadway-esque songs throughout the middle of it, right? It's very diverse. That's what makes this movie stand out for me more than others.
Oh yeah.
So the original songs that we have After Today, opening song, Powerline, Stand Out, Goofy and Max when they're traveling, Open Road, one of my personal favorite songs, which is kind of kooky. It is really Disney making fun of itself. Lester's Possum Park theme song. And then we have Goofy riding down the river with Max on top of their car, Nobody Else But You, and then finishing it off one more time with Powerline at the very end of the show, Eye to Eye, which Eye to Eye is my favorite song. I love Eye to Eye. That song slaps.
Dude, such a fantastic song. Both songs by Powerline, aka Tevin Campbell, who is an actual pop star.
Oh yeah.
From the 90s. Those songs are just legit bangers, dude.
I think we should take on an undertaking of releasing our own personal Eye to Eye cover for our listeners. I think that would
I'd
would
be
appreciate
absolutely down with that. If any of our listeners remember the first episode of season 6 where we talked about our favorite Disney covers, I mentioned that Suburban Legends covered
right.
Eye to Eye.
Yes, they did.
And it's incredible. Please go listen to that. It just has these like this horn section doing the keyboard parts in the beginning, and it rips, dude.
Yeah, it's great.
So with this being our summer series, I have to tie this back to the fact that my favorite song is actually the song that they sing at the beginning of the movie on the last day of school.
After Today.
So the song After Today. Yep. It's so good. And it's like you were talking about like Broadway-ish songs.
Like, it hits that perfect.
It reminds me of like Grease, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And there's all these
there's even a
singing.
moment where Max is on the
bleachers.
just like Grease. Yeah, great call
Exactly. It's so good. This is definitely my favorite song of the movie. I just think it really sets the stage for the whole movie. You get to really understand Max so well in this one song. Which is really what Disney does best. When Disney puts songs in their movies, they help you to get to know the character. This is, in my opinion, the best song, and it sets the stage for the entire movie.
Amazing original songs. But with that, what would be your favorite scene that ties with it? So is your favorite scene the opening scene?
I think that's an amazing scene. I don't know. All right. As a Disney Parks fan, my favorite segment of the movie is the Lester's Possum Park because that scene is just so like tongue-in-cheek, making fun of Country Bear Jamboree.
Yes.
Which we talked about this a couple episodes ago, Country Bear Jamboree.
Right.
It's an animatronic show where we have the bears, they're in a band and they're singing all these songs, but that show was an opening day attraction for Walt Disney World. So it opened in 1971.
Yeah.
So after a while, it started looking a little bit dated, right? The animatronics were older animatronics from the 70s.
Glitching a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. But they just take this and just multiply it to just such a crazy comedic extent in a Goofy movie with Lester's Possum Park. They have these, I wouldn't even call them animatronics. They're like wood flats that like kind of like jerky move. And they like the springs start popping out and stuff.
They have nails for fingers, just nails hammered into pieces of wood.
What I love is in this scene where they're watching that show, the theater that they're in looks so much like the theater from Country Bear Jamboree. Like
even in the theme song, they say "Join the Jamboree."
Yeah, exactly. Just down to like the bleacher seating and everything. It's so good. And then they have like the walk around character. Who's your favorite possum?
Okay. That moment is my favorite moment in this scene when Max slaps him across the face. He walks away, and then kids just ambush him and take him away.
Again, it's a parody. Like you wouldn't see this happen in Disney, but it's one of those things where, like, as a little kid, you even kind of get it. You're like, oh, okay. Like,
don't touch me.
It's so funny, and down to the fact that they get like the possum hat, right? Yeah. Down to like getting the Mickey ears. It's just such like a thing in this movie. I laugh so hard every time. And I actually did a Mickey and Minutes episode a while back. I couldn't even remember what episode this was. It was about Disney movies referencing park stuff. So this. Yeah. So I talk about this in that episode as well because it's just so iconic. There's so many scenes in this movie that like just the imagery and like the cinematography of it all reflects the feeling so well. So like when the possum hat is in like the mud and they're driving off, it hurts your heart, man. It really does. Like there's so much like this in this movie. Like the other thing I was thinking when Max is writing that letter to Roxanne and he writes I lied. And he rips it up and like the I lied part is floating out the window. Dude, chills. Goosebumps.
Chills.
It's so good.
So I guess Scenes in general, for like our favorite scenes of the movie. School assembly, Bobby and Pauly Shore in all of his one-liners like slurpage, we're busted. Right.
All right, so just getting a little ahead of our outline here, talking about things that did not age well. Can
Pauly
I just
Shore.
say Pauly Shore? The Leaning Tower of Cheese.
He aged the worst, but also aged the best with this movie because his one-liners are so funny.
There's so many things that like kids now, like I was watching this with the perspective of like, what would kids now, like what would this Gen Z generation think watching Goofy movie? I don't know if they would understand that character of Bobby.
The AV,
like,
the typical AV club guy. Because like the AV club isn't really a thing in high schools anymore.
Just the fact that he rolled out a TV on the cart, kids would be like, "What is that?
What is that?"
Why is that TV so giant and on
even
a
the
cart?
camera that Pete, like they would just use their phones, right? Like everything
Dude,
would be
exactly.
Yeah.
The Pete holding that like camera, like the big like old like 90s camera or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. So funny. And one thing I'd noticed, Easter eggs, just Easter eggs for a second.
Okay, sure.
When they're backstage setting up, there's a set of Skull Rock and a mermaid, like they were like doing a Peter Pan play. That's one of my favorite Easter eggs because Peter Pan is my favorite Disney movie.
Of course.
So seeing that, it's like, oh, that's Skull Rock. It's so cool.
Next up, it's my favorite scene, and it's just the Bigfoot camping scene, right? Where they go camping. Pete shows up. Goofy is trying to teach Max how to do the perfect cast, which is just beautiful as is, right? The perfect cast. But then the character of Bigfoot and how goofy Bigfoot is just in general and how hilarious they wrote the character of Bigfoot. I laugh so hard when he does the
when he
puppet
puts
show.
the tidy whities on his head.
He puts the tidy whities on his head, and then when he's dancing to Staying Alive at the very end, like, yes, dude, bravo.
So good. That whole scene. All right. So when Goofy is doing like the perfect cast, it's obviously a really terrible way of casting your rod for fishing. That's a nod to the Goofy how-to shorts where Goofy is showing you how to do something and he does it terribly.
Because there's the narrator in the back like, all right, Goofy, what are you going to do now? That's not how you do that, Goofy.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like he's playing football. My favorite one of those is where he's trying to set up the big screen TV. Have you ever seen that one?
I don't think
Goofy,
I have, no.
Goofy sets up like his entertainment system. Hilarious. But yeah, so that scene where he's trying to do the cast, it's just, but then that ends up being this iconic dance like later in the movie.
I'm honestly surprised that the perfect cast hasn't become some sort of meme dance like flossing or something like that, right? Because, the Goofy movie in general, a Goofy movie in general is making a comeback from streaming and just 90s nostalgia right now because the millennials are getting, in their 30s and 40s.
Dude, Goofy movie making a comeback, absolutely. And what's funny is that when this movie was being created, the movie had been greenlit by Jeffrey Katzenberg, and he was fired from Disney. He ended up starting DreamWorks.
Yes, I knew that.
And so before he was fired, he greenlit a Goofy movie. But then Disney didn't want to make this movie. But since it was already greenlit, it was an obligation. And so when it came out, Disney didn't really have high hopes for the movie, and it ended up grossing $37.6 million. And it cost $18 million to make. Got really mixed reviews. But once it hit video, that's when it exploded for the first time.
I can see that. VHS. What's it?
That VHS.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And now, like you said, all of us millennials now being the adults and everything, it's making a comeback. So much so that there are tons of nods popping up in the Disney parks. Andrew, have you seen the newly remodeled Toontown area at Disneyland?
No, I have not.
So there's an area called Goofy's Yard, and there's an interactive thing, and it's a nod to the Bigfoot scene. So there's like a fishing line with like a stake on it, the same stake.
Yes, perfect.
And so you can like reel in the stake and stuff. That's one thing. And then there's a kind of like a treehouse fort kind of structure.
Yeah.
And the top of it is a blanket, but it's a power line blanket.
Oh, nice.
Dude, it's super rad, yeah. And their version of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway has a completely different queue than Florida's.
Really? And there's power line illusions there?
So it's like a theater, and there's a concession stand. And in the concession stand, there's like fake candy, and one of them is called Power Limes with an M.
Oh.
And then you could actually buy Power Limes. in the parks. Yeah.
Nice.
So that's a real thing. Yep. And gosh, there's like references to Lester's Possum Park.
So I mean, to bring this back to one of our previous episodes when we were talking about Hollywood Studios, when we were talking about Rock and Roller Coaster, you know, your idea for that was to re-theme Rock and Roller Coaster to be like, hey, let's go to a Powerline concert. Well, I'm pretty sure I sent you an Instagram post where they're selling pins now at the Rock and Roller Coaster Pavilion that's Goofy dressed up in Powerline attire.
Yeah, it's like there's no mistake about it that it's a Rock and Roller Coaster pin. It has the guitar in the background.
Yeah.
And he has like, it's not the exact Powerline costume. It has like a lightning bolt on it on Goofy's shirt.
But it's referencing Powerline, clearly.
It's absolutely referencing Powerline, yeah. And I feel like that's, like we talked about on that episode, I feel like that's what the public wants.
They do.
You know? And I feel like Disney might be like trying to like kick the tires on this, right? Trying to see like what's the public reaction to this. And it's funny because I think it was my last trip. I met Powerline Max. He was out meeting at Hollywood Studios.
Where was he?
He was in Grand Avenue, kind of by the entrance to Galaxy's Edge. He wasn't by Rock and Roller Coaster.
Okay.
But the fact that he was meeting in his Powerline outfit, and dude, it had like tremendous lines to meet him.
Wow.
I feel like that was another thing. And then after they got rid of that meet and greet, Goofy and Max meet together now.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
I feel like there's little things trying to like see what people are thinking of this. You know, that plus all like we just talked about all the nods in Toontown in Disneyland.
What's the temperature of Disney fans right now? Yeah, that with Goofy Me. You know, because I would really like to see Disney do a brand new attraction based off of an older IP, such as a Goofy movie, right? I mean, there's so many new things with all the brand new IPs and, you know, the Encantos but a Goofy movie being a millennial classic, to retheme that, to have a ride that would have a lasting ride at Disney World based off of something that came out 30 years ago would be huge.
I don't think when it's the right movie, Disney doesn't shy away from that. Like we talked about Disney using nostalgia, right? That's right. Disney's big thing. And, you know, I mean, gosh, they're still making attractions based on like Snow White and stuff. You know, most recently, true. You know, the Princess and the Frog just got an attraction. So I don't feel like Disney would have a problem doing it if there's the right audience and fanfare for it. And I think that there is, man. I'd be really curious to see what the numbers are for streaming of this movie. On Disney
Plus. Gotta be huge. It's got to be huge.
Yeah, there's so much they could do with it. Like I feel like, you know, they brought back DuckTales not long ago, and I feel like if they brought back like a Goof Troop-esque show and tie in Powerline and that kind of stuff, they could really get this new generation into this stuff. And the ride writes itself. Like it's already music. There's already a recording studio. I mean, Powerline he's the breakout character of the movie. I feel like he's almost more popular than the movie itself.
The character of Powerline, who I heard was kind of a mix between Michael Jackson and Prince, really, in terms of how they portrayed him as a cartoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Even if it wasn't Rock and Roller Coaster, would you want like a Goofy movie like Dark Ride or something? Could you imagine how cool that would be?
Oh man. No, we could do a whole nother pod just on that itself. Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to a Goofy movie. Do you have any favorite quotes? Like we talked about Bobby. Bobby's great. Everything that Bobby says is hilarious. But besides the obvious Bobby, any other one-liners that you really like?
One that I think about all the time.
Yes.
Because I'm a teacher. That's part of the reason we're doing this summer series is because I'll be on summer and I'm thinking about it. But when Pete is giving advice to Goofy on how to handle Max, and he goes,
the thumb, Goof.
Exactly, under your thumb. So I think about that all the time.
When you're teaching with these kids.
When there's like this discipline I got to deal with, I just think of under your thumb.
Okay, under the thumb.
I like that. That's a line that's stuck with me like my entire life. I always remember that. Not to mention that they talk about it on this big RV. Like growing up, my family had an RV. So I always was like,
that's right, they did. Man, I remember some of your RV stories. That's so cool.
Yep. So I was always thinking like, man, if my RV could be like that one with like a bowling alley on the top, you know, like that'd be cool.
Hot take, Nick.
Okay.
Goofy and Pete, they obviously work at some sort of department store taking photos of children, right? Yeah. That's what they're doing in the show or in the movie.
Velcro under the
right, the kids she stays down, right? So they obviously have the same job. How on earth does Pete afford all of that under the same salary that Goofy has.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe it's a dual income situation, right? Like,
That's
maybe,
right. That's right. Because he has a wife that we don't know about.
Yeah, and Goofy's a single dad, man, rocking that single dad life.
And respect for
to that,
Goofy.
yeah.
Respect for Goofy, man. He's a single father, loves the hell out of his son, and will do anything for him. And all he wants.
Oh yeah.
And then we'd have to get into Goofy movie 2. He even goes even further into Goofy movie 2.
An extremely
Goofy movie. Excuse me. Yes.
Dude, yeah. See, I think back to like there's this old Goofy short. It's a Christmas short. It was on like Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas.
Yeah.
And Goofy is trying to like talk about Santa Claus with Max. And he goes as far as like dressing up as Santa Claus.
Anything for his son, man.
Dude, yeah. So respect for Goofy.
Respect for Goofy is a single
Everyone's
father.
always think, oh, Goofy's, the silly one, what?
No,
Goofy
man.
is awesome. Oh, yeah.
I would say, so my favorite quote, and it's really niche, but I love it. In the opening scene, when Stacy, the class president, is addressing the student body and she's talking about her power line party that she's going to have the next week, there's some guy in the audience, as soon as she starts talking, he just goes, "Hey, Stacy, talk to me, baby."
I feel like you have said that,
I know, right? Yeah, man.
just out in the real world. Yeah, that could be our new podcast intro, Andrew.
Hey, Nick, talk to me, baby.
So, Andrew, there's a ton of Easter eggs in this movie.
Yes.
Are there any specific that you noticed that you like?
There's the two that I like. Obviously, there's the Disney keychain, the Walt Disney keychain on Goofy's car keys, and then there's the Ariel light switch in the inn that they stay at, which is clearly Ariel. And then, of course, what's
Fish in the waterbed?
Fish in the waterbed.
I love that.
And let's play. Think of a 20 questions, man or woman, Walt Disney.
Walt Disney. Yep. I love that. There's one Easter egg that kind of like boggles my mind because it doesn't really make sense in the context of the movie.
Which one?
And it's the fact that Goofy's supposed to be friends, with Mickey and Donald, right? And they
they even reference it. He says like, I'm going with my best buddy fishing. Who? Donald Duck?
Yep. And you see Mickey on the side of the road. That's all, that's all normal. That's all canon.
Sure.
But then why does Max have a Mickey phone in his bedroom?
Oh,
that's like having a phone that looks like your dad's best friend. Why does he have this? It makes no sense.
What's weird is, and everyone's doing it too now, listening to this, they're thinking of their dad's best friend and what he or she would look like as holding a phone. I'm thinking of my dad's fishing buddy that we go fishing with all the time, and just him. That's great. That's great. Love that. I like that. I like that. Yeah, that's a good one.
It makes no sense. It's fantastic.
Or Nick, could he be showing support to his dad's best friend, because Mickey is an icon? Mickey already has his own merch.
Well, then why is Mickey hitchhiking?
Yeah, it's true. That's true.
It doesn't track, Andrew.
It doesn't track.
It doesn't track.
I'm trying to save it, but you can't. You can't save it.
It doesn't work. All right, man. So this is obviously a classic movie. I think this movie is going to be around for a long time. Hopefully, it makes its way into the parks a little bit more. Fingers crossed for a Powerline attraction. I think it's a perfect summer movie, and I'll 100% be watching this movie this summer.
Over and over and over again.
So this was episode 1 of our summer series. Our next episode in this series is going to be all about music, and we're even going to have a special guest on this next episode. It's going to be pretty awesome, so stay tuned for that. And let us know, what's your favorite song from a Goofy movie? Hit us up on Instagram, or leave us some love on Apple Pod or Spotify. And lastly, I got to say, happy 29th anniversary to a Goofy movie.
Happy 29th anniversary. Happy summer to everybody. And we'll see y'all in a couple weeks.
See you next time. Thanks again for listening to the Mickey and Minutes podcast. If you liked it, subscribe and leave a review on Apple or Spotify. Follow us on Instagram at Mickey and Minutes, and check out mickeyandminutes.weebly.com for show notes and exclusive content.